In this video, I'm going to show you how to generate Gerber in KiCAD. So KiCAD is a free tool, and once you have designed your PCB, the next thing you want to do is send it to a PCB house so they can manufacture the PCB for you. Some of the manufacturers directly accept the KiCAD project file, but in many cases you want to protect your IP and you do not want to give them their design, so you need to send your Gerber file and not the project or the PCB file. So this is a very simple PCB that that all it has is a connector, a resistor and a diode. If you are interested into looking into how the schematics look like, you can see right here. This is a J1 connector, a 2-pin header, a resistor and a LED. In terms of functionality, all it does is if you just add a power supply on pin number 1 and 2, the LED D1 will glow. That's not our purpose here. All I want is to generate this Gerber. Before you start generating the Gerber, the first thing you want to do is do a DRC checking of your design by clicking this button right here and click on Run DRC, and make sure that you do not have any DRC error. For example, right here, for example, if I, let's say, I delete this trace here, and if I run my DRC error again, you see that we have one error right here. It's an unconnected net. There can be similar other DRC errors. I want to fix this error before I want to run my DRC error, so I just went ahead and connected this, and then I run my DRC again to make sure that I do not have any error here. So my error is gone. Now I am ready to generate my Gerber. So the way to generate the Gerber is you go to File and click on Plot. In this plot, the first thing I want to do is generate my drill file. And in this drill file, I can probably go ahead and print it through hole and non-printed through hole. I can put them in a single file that helps me manage this drill file. Make this postscript selected here, and drill origin is absolute and drill units are in inches. That's what we are working on this. And once you have done that, the one thing that you want to do is you want to create a you want to have a file that you want to create a separate folder for your design, so that it does not look like they are mixed up with other files, for example the design file. So I create a directory, I call it Gerber, and I give it a name, something that I usually append today's date to differentiate it from some later on Gerber generated. But you could use your own name. I am using just this LED project. Maybe I can give it a version number v1.0 and select this folder. And you want to use the path related to this, I click on yes, and then generate this drill file. So once this drill file is generated, I can go ahead and check my folder. This is the folder. That's the only file I have right now. I can check my notepad plus and then see that this is the coordinate locations and the size of those drill files right here. So the next thing I would like to do is generate all the drill files. So I will start with the files that I need to generate in the Gerber are this f.cu is the top layer copper, and this bottom layer copper. This is just for a 2-layer file for simplicity, but the similar thing could be extended to 4 layers and more layers. We certainly want the top and the bottom silk screen layer. We want a board cutout layer, which is which one? This edge dot cuts, which is actually show the board cutout and any internal cutout. So these are the minimum number of the files that you need, but of course, and also the top and the bottom bar. So these are the minimum number of the layers required, but you could also include paste, top and bottom paste, if you want something like a paste file for the assembly house to 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 assemble the boards. So they will add a paste layers onto it. So once you have done that, you need to just click on, make sure that you have some of the things excluded or included. For example, I do not want PCB footprint values in this file. I do want the footprint references, uh, and then I want to exclude PCB edge layer from the as other layers, and so on and so forth. We can use a Protel file name extension, but you could also exclude these things. Um, so that's with all we have. And then once we have done that, what we do is we click on this plot here, and then that generates all the files for this Gerber. We close this thing, check my folder. I see that these are the files that are generated for this Gerber file. But before we send it out to the PCB house, what we want to do is we want to check that these Gerber files are looking good. So KiCAD has a very nice tool called Gerber Viewer that you can click on it, and then it opens up a Gerber Viewer, and from this Gerber Viewer you can open the Gerber files and select all the Gerber files that we just generated. Your screen will show the nicely generated all the layers, and on the right hand side you have all the windows. We unselect all of them and then start selecting one by one, starting with my cutout, which is right here, and I see that my cutout is looking the way I wanted it. Next thing could be I can turn on my top layer, which is F uh, this copper layer on the top side, which is looking good to me, and then I turn on the top layer silk screen. These are also aligning as well. Just make sure you have anything else that you want to include. It's not there, you may go back and check that layer and fix it and come back again to generate that Gerber. Then I turn off the top layer and then turn on the bottom layer, which is these two things right here. um, and then we do not have anything on the bottom layer silk screen, so that should be fine. Another thing you want to check is the mask layer. Make sure that you have the solar mask the way you want it to, aligning it with the bottom layer pads. Same thing you could do with the top layer mask and the top layer coppers, and see that this mask layer is just a little bigger than the copper layer. For example, this green one outside is showing the mask layer, which is just outside the copper layer that you can see here. So once you are satisfied with the mask and the copper and everything, you can go ahead and look at your directory that have all the Gerber files, and then zip them all into um, a compressed one single folder and give it a name. For example, I try to give it a version name, and then also append it with the today's date, which is 5/25 2020. And then this is the zip file that you want to send out to your Gerber PCB house for manufacturing, and hopefully you should be good with your design. But one caution is, if this is the first time you are generating a PCB file, I would suggest that start with a very really simple two-layer board, and just to make sure that you are doing it right, and send it out, and make sure that when it comes from the PCB house it looks good to you, so that if there is any error, you lose only a small amount. And once you are confident about it, then go ahead and do more complex PCBs like 4 layers or 10 layers and more. I hope this thing helps you, and thanks for taking a look.